Okay, hello everyone. Shit. Okay, sorry for being late. We're like 8 minutes, 8 minutes late. Apparently somebody changed the computer here in the studio and erased most of my setup. So that was a bit challenging getting all the setup back up. Not that you care, but that was challenging. Anyway, now we're live a bit late than usual, but it's better to be here than not. Maybe we'll do a longer lesson today. At least the computer works faster than the previous one. It's in the price of the setup, but still. But always look on the bright side of death. Yeah, there was a song like that. Okay, always look on the bright side. Monty Python, doesn't matter. Okay, so where are we actually? It's also part of the setup that went. First of all, maybe we'll do some questions from lesson number 7. So Leah was asking, there are some things that confuse me a lot, so I have some questions. What is the meaning of work in Kabbalah? Actually, work, or the work of the Creator, like Avodat Hashem, means to reveal the work of the Creator. So the Creator does it all, our work is just to reveal that. And the work to do in revealing Him is becoming similar to Him. This we do through studies, through working in a group, etc. What is the meaning of for her name? Well, it usually means that instead of doing actions for oneself, so the will to receive will get a benefit out of it. So it will get some kind of profit, and we judge everything according to what the will to receive gets. We do that for the name of the Creator or for the name of the Torah, depends how we're talking about it. Okay, I have another question. I want to check whether my understanding is correct concerning connection with the group. Is that connection to check one's state and evaluate oneself? Yes. And give the person an opportunity to see what he should work on next? Yes. I mean, is that the meaning of connection? Connection is about changing the perception from oneself to the group as a whole, or the 10 as a whole, and from that to the Creator as a whole. When Kabbalah talks about ascent and descent, does it mean feeling good and bad? No. Feeling good and bad is about sweet and sorrow, and ascent and descent is about truth and false, meaning that it's closer to the Creator and farther away from the Creator. Sometimes you can actually feel like your will to receive is empty or suffering, and you feel that is a higher state. Are the states in Kabbalah the same as high and low moods? No. Feeling confidence and feeling fear? No. In the beginning you might confuse the two, but gradually you'll start to discern the different aspects. Please elaborate more on what are the states in Kabbalah, and please explain our moods in relation to Kabbalah if they have any definition. Our moods are just a result of chemicals or nerve system, or you can say in a deeper level if we get more light or less light in the vessels of reception. This is our mood, good or bad. When we're talking about spiritual advancement, we're talking about changing the vessels, and in changing the vessels, a person feels ascend and descend, or judge it according to becoming similar to the Creator, closer to nature, and more balanced with nature. And this can actually be through hard work. Just like an athlete sometimes work very hard in order to get to some achievement. So if you look on the calories he's burning, or the pain he feels in his muscles, you'll say that he's suffering, but actually he's advancing. And this happens in many things in life. Okay, that was about Lear's question. Oh, hello Lear. Oh, just answered all of your questions. Okay, let's continue now. If I only knew where we stopped last time. Okay, I know what we can do. We can check. I probably wrote it somewhere. This is so sad when all of your preset is like erasing your memory, and you need to start all over again, but actually you have a memory. Or just less accurate. The first gain on page 273. Okay, let's go to page 273 if you have the book Kabbalah for the student. If not, you have the link for the article. We start with the words, with the paragraph, the first gain. So we were talking about the difference between advancing consciously and unconsciously towards the goal. And now we're going to talk about the gains of working consciously, because you can ask, if anyway we're going to reach the goal, doesn't matter what we do. So what's the point of doing that consciously, or wanting to learn how to do that, or investing resource in that? So the first gain, that these forces which appear out of his work are set before them as a pulling magnetic force. They chase it of their own free will, with the spirit of love. Needless to say, they are free from any kind of sorrow and suffering like the first type. So meaning we are not advancing through suffering that pushes us from the behind, but we are advancing towards something that we long for, which is completely different state of mind, and different, how would you say, megama, like a different trend, a different flow. The second gain is that they hasten the desired goal, meaning that we hasten, or we shortening a concept that is called time, which is a big concept, and it's a big question, what is time actually? But let's say it in a simple way, that the second gain is that they hasten the desired goal. For they are the righteous and the prophets who attain the goal in each generation. As it explained in the essay, The Essence of the Wisdom of Kabbalah, in the section, What Does the Wisdom Revolve Around? All is meaning that you can say that one don't have to wait until the end of correction of all of humanity, but attains already a high spiritual state in his current life cycle. All is in deposit, and a fortress spreads over all of life. The store is open, and the shopkeeper sells by deferred payment. The book is open, and the hand writes, and all who wishes to borrow may come and borrow, and the collectors return regularly, day by day, and collect from a person knowingly and unknowingly, and they have what to rely on, and the judgment is true, and all is ready for the feast. Okay, that was the verse we started with, all this second part of the article. And we explained already most of it, right? Thus you see that there is a great distance between those who pay knowingly and those who pay unknowingly, as the supremacy of the light of delight and pleasure over the darkness of pain and agony. And he says further, they have what to rely on, and the judgment is true. In other words, he promises all those who pay knowingly and willingly that they have what to rely on, that there is a great strength in his work to bring them to the sublime goal, and it is worthwhile for them to harness themselves under his burden. Meaning that the work or the burden that we take upon ourselves is worthwhile. Now, this is a question if it's in the egoistical vessels or in vessels of bestow, but because we anyway translate anything and we read and we see according to our egoistical vessels, it doesn't really matter at the moment. And of those who pay unknowingly, he says, and the judgment is true, seemingly one must wonder why Providence permits those corruptions and agonies to appear in the world, in which humanity is being fried mercilessly, I cannot pronounce that, mercilessly. This is a hard word for this time of morning, and that's why we have Google Translate.
Mercilessly.
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 Mercilessly. Wow, that's a disgusting word. Mercilessly. Okay, he says about it that this judgment is true since all is ready for the feast, for the true goal, and the sublime delight that is destined to emerge with the revelation of his purpose in creation, when all the trouble and toil and anguish that befall us through time will seem like a host who greatly troubles himself to prepare a great feast for the invited guests. And he compares the anticipated goal that must finally be revealed to a feast, whose guests attend with great delight. This is why he says, and the judgment is true and all is ready for the feast. Okay, so this is something we cannot actually comprehend in our current vessels, that all the trouble and toil and anguish and all the suffering of humanity through all of the generation and also in our time, it's like a host that troubles himself, and that's hard for us to picture, but it's pretty clear that in the end, if there is a feast and something to attain, you can actually come to it through longing, through a happy chase or search to get there, like an adventure, or you can come there by enforcement against your will, by having all the forces of nature compels you through suffering and pain to attain that. Such as that you will find in Bereshit Rabbah regarding the creation of man. The angels asked of the Creator, "What is a man that thou art mindful of him, and the son of man that thou visitest him? Why do you need this trouble?" Yeah, so like there is a level of like we have an animal level in our world, so there is like an animal level in spirituality, meaning the laws of nature, you can say, come to the Creator, or so-called when the person reveals them, he has these laws awakening, the attainment of these laws awaken a question in him, what is the point of a man? You know, why did he create such a corrupted being opposite of the will to bestow? Why not just create it in a corrected way, just like the angels, meaning just like a law of nature that does what it was programmed to do? Why do you need this mess? And the Creator told them, meaning the person reveals later on in a deeper level, so why were Tsuna and Alafim created? There is an allegory about a king who had a tower filled with goods, but no guests. What pleasure does a king in his full tower? They said unto him, Lord of the world, the Lord our Master, how great is your name in all the land, do that which pleases you. Meaning that the answer that the person reveals through him, that all this emptiness and suffering and this tsuna and alafim, which symbolize, let's say, pain, it's only for the purpose of creating someone or something or a creature that can actually appreciate or reveal the Creator. Just like a king that wants a guest. Okay? So in order to be a guest of the king, you need first to appreciate that he's the king, to want to be his guest, to want exactly what the king gives you through his feast, etc. Interpretation. The angels that saw all the pain and agony that was to befall humanity wondered, why do you need this trouble? And the Creator replied to them that indeed he had a tower full of goods, but only this humanity was invited to it. And of course the angels weighed the pleasures in the tower awaiting its guest against the agony and trouble that awaited humanity. And once they saw that it was worthwhile for humanity to suffer for the good that awaited them, they agreed to the creation of man, just as Rabbi Akiva said, and the judgment is true and all is ready for the feast. From the beginning of the creation, all people have reservation, and the thought of the Creator necessitates them to come to the feast knowingly or unknowingly. Okay, so again, this is something that seems very shallow, like a very bad explanation, because we can't actually understand it in depth. So it seems like a very egoistic calculation. Okay, so if the reward in the end is big enough, then it's worthwhile suffering all everything that was on the way. Okay, so it's not really like that, because a person changes his perception of reality and he sees that there was no suffering at all in the past, but here he explains in a more simple way, so let's stick to that. Okay, maybe we'll check if we have questions. Just a second, let me see, where is this now? Okay, Tyler is okay, is just being appreciated. negative. Okay, but no questions. Larry is asking, didn't watch the answers, we'll watch again after the live stream. No problem. Okay, so you missed my answers. Okay, so no more question about this, so let's move forward. And now all will see the truth in the words of the prophet in the prophecy of peace. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lay down with the kid. And he reasoned that the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord as the waters cover the sea. Thus the prophet conditions peace in the whole world with the filling of the whole world with the knowledge of God, just as we have said above, that though egoistic resistance between people along which international relationship sorry, you don't see that. Wait. Again. And now all will see the truth in the words of the prophet, in the prophecy of the peace. The wolf shall dwell with the lamb, and the leopard shall lay down with the kid. And he reasoned that the earth shall be full of the knowledge of the Lord, as the waters cover the sea. Thus the prophet conditions peace in the whole world with the filling of the whole world with the knowledge of God. Just as we have said above, that though egoistic resistance between people along which international relationship deteriorate, all these will not cease from the world by any human counsel or tactic, whatever it may be. And now I see how the poor sick is turning over in dreadful, intolerable pains, and humanity has already thrown itself to the extreme right, as with Germany, or to the extreme left, as with Russia. But not only did they not ease the situation for themselves, they have worsened the malady and agony, and the voices rise up to the sky, as we all know, meaning that humanity tried everything possible to do. It's much more deeper, this paragraph, actually, but I don't think we'll go into the deeper explanation. But this left and right of Russia and Germany actually symbolize a very deep, deep psychological perception or attitudes towards reality. And he wants to say that actually humanity did it all, and as we can see, it didn't solve the problem of suffering, or even the question we started the article with: if the Creator is good and benevolent, why do I suffer, or why do I see suffering in the world? Thus they have no other choice but to come to accept his burden in knowledge of the Creator, meaning that they will aim their action to the will of the Creator and to his purpose, as he had planned for them prior to creation. And when they do that, it is plain to see that with his work all envy and hatred will be abolished from humanity, as I have shown above. This is because then all members of humanity will unite into one body and one heart, full of the knowledge of the Lord. Thus, world peace and the knowledge of God are one and the same thing. Meaning that just like we have molecules connecting and creating a new phenomena that emerges from the synergy between them that we call life, and then we have life cells that connect, and through the connection and synergy a new phenomenon emerges that is called consciousness. In the same way exactly, if we take people and they connect in the right way, meaning according to laws of nature, then through the synergy between them we have a new phenomenon that emerges, which he calls the knowledge of the Lord. And that's why the knowledge of the Lord is the new level of existence. It's the force of life that sustains the one body that is constructed from all of the people connected in one heart and one mind. Immediately following, the prophet says, "And it shall come to pass in that day that the Lord shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, and gather together the dispersed of Judea from the four corners of the earth. Thus we learn that the world peace comes before the gathering of the diaspora, meaning that only through a process in which humanity comes to know about Kabbalah and studies and attains the Creator through this teaching, and by attaining the Creator even to the smallest extent, they attain a level of peace, meaning completeness, the right connection between them, then also the people of Israel can actually fulfill themselves to the highest level as being the Rosh, the head of the system. And this is called gathering the diaspora. So you can say that there is some kind of dialogue, there is some kind of a mutual process between Israel, meaning the people who yearn for the Creator, and the rest of humanity, that those spiritual Israel needs to teach all of humanity about the goal, about how to attain the Creator, and to the extent that the humanity starts to implement that, then it allows Israel to implement or to realize itself to a complete new level. Now you can understand the words of our sages at the end of Masechet Oktzin. The Creator did not find a vessel to hold a blessing for Israel, but peace. As it says, the Lord shall give strength to his people, the Lord shall bless his people with peace. Seemingly, one should wonder at the allegory, a vessel to hold the blessing for Israel, and also how does one conclude that from these words? But these words become clear to them like the prophecy of Isaiah, that world peace precedes the gathering of the diaspora. This is why the verse says, the Lord shall give strength to his people, that in the future when the Creator gives his people, meaning Israel, strength, meaning eternal resurrection, then the Lord shall bless his people with peace. This means that he will first bless his people, Israel, with peace in the whole world, and then he will set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of these people. And again, you need to have a vessel, you need to have a fulfillment, okay? So first of all, you get a vessel from above, a request, the prayer comes from above, and then the correction comes, the fulfillment comes from above. And this process is true for one person, for Israel, and it's also true in the general system. But in the general system, there is also a division to the part of Israel and the part of all of humanity. I know the time is up, but we started 8 minutes late, so I'm going to finish the article today. Our sages said about the reason for the words, therefore the blessing of peace in the whole world precedes the strength, meaning the redemption, because God did not find a vessel to hold a blessing for Israel, but peace. Thus, as long as self-love and egoism exist among the nations, Israel too will not be able to serve the Creator in purity. As bestowal, as it is written in the explanation of the words, and you shall be to me kingdom of priests in the essay the Avot. And we see it from experience, for the coming to the land and the building of the temple could not persist and receive the blessing that God has sworn to our fathers, meaning until we don't bring all of humanity to the end of correction, we won't be able to correct ourselves or even be in a spiritual correction, just like we saw in the first and second temple, that because we didn't bring all of humanity yet, we had to fall from that degree. And this is why they said God did not find a vessel to hold the blessing, meaning thus far Israel did not have a vessel to hold the blessing of the fathers. Therefore the oath that we can inherit the land for all eternity has not yet been fulfilled, because world peace is the sole vessel that enables us to receive the blessing of the fathers, as in the prophecy of Isaiah. And how do you come to world peace? You come to world peace by people attaining the knowledge of the Lord. And what does it mean to attain the knowledge of the Lord? Through learning and implementing the wisdom of Kabbalah, you come to similarity of form with the Creator and attaining His knowledge or His mind. That's it for the peace article. Very good, profound, strong, fundamental essay that we had to go through, and it's good that we did that. Let's see if we have questions. Here we have no questions, and here we have no questions as well. Good. So with that, we're going to conclude. On Thursday there is not going to be a lesson because there is some kind of happening, virtual happening in KBU that will be streamed on this channel in the same, like an hour before, and it will continue how do you say that? It will continue to the time schedule for this lesson. So there's not going to be a lesson. Sorry, I don't know how to say it in proper English. And we'll continue on Monday, hopefully, if there won't be any problems with the new essay. So looking forward for that. Take care and bye for now.